what's going on, guys? Today we're talking about my bug deck. I said it was coming, and it has arrived. There should be something going across the screen right now saying what time the combos are at. But this is my bug deck profile. I play tested it against a lot of stuff. Kashtira, Salamangreat, Sword Soul, Branded, as much as I could possibly play test here. And yeah, let's just jump right into it. Starting with 3 copies. Resonant Insect. This card is very close to being banned. I could see this card in 3 years being on the ban list. I just know at some point this bug deck is going to take off and it's going to be really big, and the reason for it is going to be this card. Potentially that could be because of the return of Max C. I don't know. Max C is on Master Duel, and Beat Troopers is not the best deck there. It's pretty good though, being able to search Max C. But this card is insane. You'll see in the combo tutorials how many times I activate this guy's effect. Like, it's just freaking crazy. Beat Troopers are still my favorite. So I am still running a decent sized Beat Trooper lineup. 3 copies of Scale Bomber, 2 Scout Buggy, 2 Sting Lancer. The only reason Sting Lancer's at 2, I do feel like it clogs a little bit. Searchable off Resonant Insect. I just don't see the need for 3, even though it's not terrible if you open it. But if you open it with just literally nothing else, it's a brick. Scout Buggy summons itself from hand, deck, or grave, so you really only ever need 2. And the restriction is a bit wonky sometimes, unfortunately. So that's why it is at 1, and it's a really good Ash effect Veiler and Imperm target. But that's why I love Scale Bomber. Scale Bomber is an extender, and that's really the way I built this deck. I try to put in just a bunch of extenders, so a pretty decent sized Beat Trooper lineup, but like Dragon Bite, right? 3 copies of Dragon Bite because it is just such a good card. It's a Goblin Bird for insects. It's also a tuner, even though I'm not playing any synchro monsters, because I just don't really think there's any good insect synchro monsters. You could make a case for like Borreload Salvage Dragon if you're able to make it, because this deck does link summon a lot, but I don't ever see a situation where you'd be able to make that card because it's a dragon. But this card is just freaking free advantage. It's so insane. I am also running 2 copies of Variant the Circular Sorcerer. This card special summons itself out if you have a bug in your grave. Just super insane. Free value, free advantage. And really, in essence, what you're trying to do every single time is get, and obviously if this doesn't happen, you're fine, you can still do things, but you're trying to summon 3 bugs before you link summon. If you're able to summon 3 bugs before you link summon, you can use Pico Falena to equip Resonant Insect to the other bug and just go off, right? Like, even just this hand right here is what we need, or these 2 and a Goki pull is what we need, right? So we get there a lot of different ways. I am running 1 Goki pull, 1 Beat Trooper Assault Ruler. I guess I could have had him with the other Beat Trooper stuff, but I just always kind of forget, that this is a Beat Trooper card, because it's not really that great on its own, but it is really good search off of Goki pull. And it's also searchable off another card as well. More extenders. Pin the Bullseye. Borrelis the Rapid Fire. Sorry if I said that wrong. This is probably the best card to summon if it has a target. It's a Crane, for bugs. But this is the best card to summon off of Armor Horn, right? And Pin the Bullseye, similar to the Circular Sorcerer, it's just an extender. We want 3 bugs before we link summon, right? For the hand traps, 3 Retaliating, 1 Contact C. Not really running any other Cs. Flying C is interesting for the Kashtira matchup if you're side decking it. Retaliating C does search that. But they do kind of play cards to get around it. But Contact C is really crazy. And it's searchable off of both Resonant Insect and Retaliating C. And we can shuffle it back with cards like Pico Falena and the Mighty Neptune. So we're in a situation where we don't need to play this in multiples to activate it multiple times in a duel. Retaliating C is really good against Branded, but it's also pretty decent against Kashtira because they have a couple of spells that summon. And just a Macro Cosmos, as you know, with Kashtira being as good as it is, a Macro Cosmos is just so good. I guess it's a Defissure No, actually, yeah. Is banished instead. So it actually is a macrocosmos, which is flipping insane. That's it for the hand traps, though. Not running Ash, not running Valor, not even running Imperm. What I did with this is really more of a concept similar to like Drytron and decks like that are like pendulums were like that too for a while. I think they still are, where they're just pure gas, right? And that's why this deck doesn't lose to Nibiru. If you're running hand traps, it might. But if you are playing this deck the way that this is built, you can play through Nibiru, play through hand traps. You can even play through different forms of disruption going second because it's just pure engine. It's pure gas, right? So we're running Doom Dozer, Mighty Neptune, Humongous Hive, Hygasmon, Zeg Stagger. This is just an extender if you open it. Also searchable off of Resident Insect. This is my favorite search off of Resident Insect. This card's fantastic. Mighty Neptune's really, really good. As you know, these cards are older, but this is kind of like the newer card. It can special summon itself out when you special summon an insect, which is just free value. I thought about playtesting with Titanic Galaxy because I got these two on the board very often together. Hope Harp, number 30. But once again, because of the restriction, I never really found a spot for it, and I don't believe there's a rank 8 insect. So hopefully that'll happen in the near future, because this is also a level 8, which is fun. And then, of course, I'm running the big boss monster here, Beargrum, the crown. I actually never made this in testing, but just the free dark hole is insane to me. 3,400 attack is really big, beats over the Cashier boss monster, the Arise Heart. So you're in a situation where this could be really, really good and trigger Resident Insect as well. And this deck banishes a lot, which is really cool. I never really found a spot to make it, unfortunately, in testing, but I feel like you have to run it at least one because it is searchable, and it can do some cool things. Next is Scary Moth. There's actually a couple of ways I have of getting this out. First, there is the Kakata King, obviously. You can normal summon this with Armor Horn, but there's actually another card I'm running as well that's relatively new that can summon this card out because it's a level 6. But this is just a Winda, which is insane. There's so many decks that just auto lose to Scary Moth. Like at playtesting, like a lot of times my opponent was just like, oh, you have a Scary Moth. I just lose. The final card, now stay with me on this one. The final 3 monsters of this deck. 3 copies of Parallel Exceed. I was playtesting with this deck, and I was really trying to find an extender. What is a good extender? And I really just didn't even know. That's why I've been talking about building this deck for a while, and doing the deck profile, and I haven't done it. You know, I was thinking, what can be a good extender? And I was actually watching MathMech play, and I saw Parallel Exceed and the work that it can do. And I was like, you know, there are circumstances where that restriction isn't live. A lot of times when I summon, I'll go into Pico Flano first, summon out Parallel Exceed. I actually, like the combos I have at the end of the video are actually both with Parallel Exceed, and I make some crazy boards with it. So make sure you guys stick around and check it out because this is actually insane in bugs. And I feel like a lot of people don't run it, so a lot of people don't really see it coming. But that is it for the monsters. I think there's like 25 or something crazy. I actually don't know how many monsters there are because there's just so many monsters. But it's a bug deck, pure gas, right? 1 copy of B-Trooper Formation, searchable off of Sting Lancer. It's a great extender as well. 2 copies of Giant Ball Game. So this card is another extender where it summons out a level 6 or lower insect. It's also a creature swap. Yes, and it just lingers. And so it's actually really insane. And a lot of people don't really know what it does, right? Because it's the bug deck. But this is the card I was talking about earlier that can summon out the Scary Moth as well. If the combo allows it, you can summon out Scary Moth with this card. And like I said, it's just a free win. For the 3 1-0s, Upstart, 39 card deck, Monster Reborn, obvious, right? Called by the Grave. I opened Resident Insect, Monster Reborn. Just that alone is crazy. And Called by, you know, we can play through hand traps, but we'd like to not to. One flying thing because it's searchable and recurable. Do always remember that. Like, you can discard this card off of Pico Fulena and bring it back out during the end phase as long as your play string ended on an Invincible Atlas. And then 3 copies of Solemn Judgment, because Dark Ruler No More is crazy against this deck. So many times I just looked at my board. I was like, wow, this is a really good board if they don't have Dark Ruler No More. Evenly Match is really popular in the format, though, right now. Lightning Storm is really crazy. And not only is it great against board wipes, not only is it great against, Dark Ruler No More, but it's also just, like, great against just randomly generic, oh, you summon a Rise Heart, Judgment. Oh, okay, I passed turn, right? So Judgment, that's the final 3 cards there. That's it for the main deck. 41 card main deck. For the extra deck, 2 copies of Invincible Atlas. I always go into the second one, because of the Parallel Exceed. It allows me to extend. This is such an insane card. It actually is really still hard to... I wish it said unaffected by card effects. Instead, it could be targeted and destroyed. But even just not being able to be targeted and destroyed is crazy. 2 copies of Armorhorn. Should be obvious. It's the great extender in so many different ways. This card, when this deck is good, this card will also be banned. Like, this is probably the best card in the extra deck. If not, it is Inzektor Pico Fulena. Fulena is such a good card. I always try to activate this card twice in a turn, like both of the effects of this card, and I always use itself to shuffle itself back, so I always have ammo and just always have engine. The Digustle Emerald effect's really good. Getting out Resonant Insect's really good. This is really good. Like, I cannot possibly, I can't state it enough. I always try to use this card's effect twice. In the first turn. Like, obviously, using it multiple times in the duel makes sense, but in the first turn, I try to play string it to where I'll activate the Resonant Insect effect, get the other one engraved quickly, and then get another one out to shuffle the old one back. Always. Can't state it enough. 1 copy of Papillon, 1 copy of Shinobi. This is really good in this deck because I'm running Parallel Exceed, and there are times where I'm like, oh, I don't have a card to make. Oh, I can make this card. Because it is 2 monsters with different names, but this Parallel Exceed can be one of those names. This can also be made with Parallel Exceed as well. So that's what's really cool. And so, like, honestly, like, if you open, like, Resonant Insect and Parallel Exceed, you can make this card, right? And you can just do some cool combos there. Because of some of the other cards I'm running in the extra deck. So these are really good. This card's effect isn't actually that bad, though. It says that when it points to a monster, it can't be targeted by card effects, and if a monster's card points to a destroyed by battle or card effect, you can special summon a level 4 or lower insect monster from your hand or graveyard, but banishment leaves the field. The only real way to out-Atlas, I mean, obviously, it can be shuffled back, it can be kaiju'd, is usually, though, by battle, right? So this being able to point to it and summon a card back out, it's usually pretty good. For the generic links, I am running Almirage, because of Resonant Insect. You open Resonant Insect and just that, Almirage is crazy. And that's what I was saying, like, Resonant Insect plus Parallel Exceed is crazy because Almirage can go into this card, it can go into this card, and we can still do our bug stuff. 1 IP Masquerena. This is probably the card I went into the least in terms of testing, but I still like it because it can make Appaloosa. And that's what's really cool about running the Parallel Exceeds and this sort of, like, engine style of deck where it is pretty simple for me to get out Appaloosa and then do some bug stuff, right? And then I am running Access Code Talker. Access Code Talker was in here before. It's a link-based deck, so it's really cool. We do have a good amount of attributes because of the Earth, Armorhorn's on Earth, Pico Fulena's a Dark, Papillon's a Wind, so we can really get a lot of value out of Access Code Talker. 1 number 3, the Kakata King. 1 number 20, Giga Brilliant, Ultimate Rare. Shout out to that. And then I am running Traptrix Alamoris. So Traptrix Alamoris says it can be made with 2 level 4 monsters. And it's an insect. So a lot of times, this is the card I summon off of Parallel Exceed. And by a lot of times, I mean most of the time. I don't have room in the extra deck for, like, an Abyss Dweller or for like a Baguska. Obviously, if you guys have that and you can make room, you can. But let me know what you guys think of the deck profile. I'm going to actually showcase some combos with Parallel Exceed to showcase what exactly that card can do. So I'm actually just going to showcase what is possible with Parallel Exceed in the bug deck. I'm going to do a very standard bug combo with Parallel Exceed just to show you the power. So this is a 3.5 card combo because we do need the discard. And it's pretty standard stuff, right? So Dragon Bite is going to be normal summoned. We're going to use its effect, special summon a bug, level 4 or lower, summon out the Scout Buggy, right? Scout Buggy's effect is going to trigger, summoning out, yep, another Scout Buggy, right? And then we have to use these two Scout Buggies because they do have the restriction, obviously, to summon out an Inzektor Picofalena. At this spot, we're going to discard, right, and chain the Parallel Exceed, right? And this is where your opponent's going to go, what? They're playing Parallel Exceed in the bug deck, right? It's going to resolve, Exceed's going to come out, Resonant Insect's going to equip itself to the Dragon Bite because it's an insect. On resolution, Parallel Exceed's going to trigger, summoning out another Parallel Exceed, obviously, right? At this spot, right, a few things you can do, but what we'll do here, we're going to make these two and turn them into an Armor Horn, right? Resonant Insect obviously going to trigger, giving us our Doom Dozer, right? Then we're going to use Parallel Exceed. Now keep in mind, you can make any rank 4 with Parallel Exceed, but because Armor Horn's up, it has to be an insect, which coincidentally enough is the attribute of, or the type, excuse me, of Traptrix Alamuris, however you say it, right? So you can detach both the Parallel Exceeds, summon back out the Resonant Insect, right? Now, at this spot, we're going to use these two to summon out another Inzektor Picofalena. Resonant Insect's going to trigger it again, right? And that's going to allow us to search a few different things. You can search out a Sting Lancer. You can search out the Humongous that special summons itself when you summon an insect, right? But we're just going to search Contact Seed. Contact Seed is pretty good against Kashtira. It's pretty good against Sprite, and it's really good against a lot of decks right now. A lot of decks are just signing it in, and they're not even playing insects, right? So we're going to search out Contact Seed. It's our second Resonant Insect search, right? At this spot, we're going to banish Resonant Insects, and we're going to banish Dragon Bite to summon out Doom Dozer, right? Resonant Insect's effect is going to trigger. That's going to allow us to foolish down the Goki Pole. Goki Pole is going to trigger, searching out another Resonant Insect, right? At that point, Armor Horn's effect is going to activate. We're going to go ahead and normal summon a Resonant Insect. And at this spot, very important, we're going to activate Inzektor Picofalena's effect, putting back the Alamuris, putting back Picofalena, putting back the Goki Pole to draw a card. Now, let's say I drew really poorly and I drew the Goki Pole, right? So, oops, doesn't matter. I mean, it could be like a Giant Ball Game, a Monster Reborn, you know, Pin the Bullseye, a lot of different things. But this, let's just say it's a Goki Pole. Let's just say it's not that good, right? It also could be like a Solemn Judgment, a lot of different things. Anyway, we're then going to use these two to make our first Invincible Atlas. We're then going to use Atlas's effect, tributing off the Resonant Insect to summon out Sting Lancer. As you know, Sting Lancer has an effect, allows us to search a Beat Trooper, Spell, and Trap. We're going to search out Flying Sting, as is tradition. Like I said, pretty standard bug combo, just Parallel Exceed, just making it a little more consistent and just honestly a little bit better. At this spot, we're going to use Armor Horn's effect, banishing the Resonant Insect, banishing the two Scout Buggies to summon itself out, right? Resonant Insect's effect is going to trigger one more time. I'm going to send down a Scary Moth. Scale Bomber is cool too. I'm just sending down Scary Moth because I don't want to draw it, right? If this card was a Giant Ball Game Monster Reborn, we can bring it back out. But anyway, we're then going to use Resonant Insect's effect to trigger one more time to search out a Mighty Neptune. Once again, it could be any level 5 or higher insect monster. As you know, we're going to use these 4 to summon out our second Invincible Atlas. And then we're going to go ahead and shuffle back these 3 cards. Can be any bugs, obviously, that are banished to summon out our Mighty Neptune, and that's it. So with a 3.5 card combo, we got 2 Atlases, the Mighty Neptune that obviously can come back, a Form of Disruption and Contact C, and a Fly and Sting. That is the power of the paralleling. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Thank you so much. Click like, subscribe, all the other buttons except dislike. But most importantly of all, as always, have a good day.